to, to maintaining the constitutional balance of power and the authority that this legislative branch has. And I just don't think it's appropriate Mr. Holder be here if an American citizen had not complied with one of the Justice Department subpoenas. They would be in jail, not sitting here in front of testifying.
And that Congressman Blake Farenthold, a Republican from the great state of Texas, obviously member of the House Oversight Committee, with Eric Holder present, refusing to ask a question of the Attorney General, and you heard the reason why. We are now joined by the Congressman. Congressman, welcome, sir.
It's good to be with you, Steve.
Well, it's great to talk to you, and I got to tell you, I mean, that seems easy maybe for some people when they're watching it, but I'm just guessing. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, to sit there face to face with the Attorney General and say what you said, I would imagine.
No, it was difficult, and some people said, "Why were you so quiet? Why weren't you mad?" And it wasn't coming from a place of anger. It was coming from a place of sadness that I see the historic balance of power that this country has operated under for generations, unraveling under a president and an administration that think they're answerable to no one.
No, you're absolutely right, and I do want to get to that. When you suggested that the Attorney General should be in jail, I mean, I know you got lambasted by the media, and of course, subsequently, Eric Holder went out, and in combination, I guess, of what you said and what Louis Gohmert said, his confrontation with the Attorney General, and the fact that he's been held in contempt of Congress, it all came out in frustration, I believe, from the Attorney General when he made a speech at the National Action Network, Al Sharpton's National Action Network of all places, talking about look at how me, the Attorney General, and the President have been treated. Nobody's been treated that way, and he basically claimed it had to do with race.
And I think that really cheapens legitimate claims of racism. You look back historically at other attorney generals, they've had some contentious dealings with Congress. The Democrats were all after Texan Alberto Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And then the Republicans certainly had their day with Janet Reno in the wake of Ruby Ridge and Alien Gonzalez. I mean, it's not unusual for there to be tension between the branches of government, but it's just so out of hand under the Obama administration that I was at a loss at what to do and realized I needed to make a statement and find a way we could get some of that power that the founding fathers bestowed in Congress back.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. To me, that is extremely frightening. And you have a proposal. You introduced a measure that would stop paychecks for people who have been held in contempt of Congress. And right now, that's Eric Holder. Hopefully, if there's a vote on it anytime soon, I guess it will also include Lois Lerner, although I don't know what her status is as far as receiving a paycheck. But
yeah, she's retired now.
Yeah. But what do you think the prospects of at least John Boehner bringing that to the floor for a vote would be?
Well, the bill itself probably doesn't stand much of a chance getting through the Senate or being signed by the president.
Right.
But it's certainly something, some of the language out of it or the intent of it could be attached to every single one of the appropriations bills that we pass. And is the Senate and the president willing to shut down the government over Eric Holder's paycheck by not going with the appropriations bills? I don't think so.
Well, but okay. So, do you think again? Because I've talked to other congressmen, and they've had bills and they've had ideas, and even the bill that would allow military men and women to carry weapons on their bases. And I've asked, why did that never see the light of day? Why wouldn't Boehner bring it? And there's been some criticism of the leadership on the Republican side. Do you believe that Boehner would be on board and the leadership would be on board with inserting this into something to try to get it passed at least in the House?
Well, I certainly hope so. And part of the reason that I'm on the phone with you today is so your listeners can let their congressman know that this is something that needs to be done. Groundswell of support from the grassroots would certainly help.
All right. Now, you talk about the abuse of power, and, I got to tell you, there's some speculation out there and concern that Eric Holder, who has mentioned this smart gun technology, where, you know, a gun would have to meet a handprint and it would recognize the holder or the owner of the gun, and only the owner's hand could fire the gun, that would be a requirement. And now there's some speculation and some fear among gun owners and conservative circles that the president may do it again, issue an executive order. You know, he's got a pen, he keeps telling us, to make that kind of mandatory. Now, that would, I guess, unleash a court fight, although I don't know who has standing to take an executive order to court. But have you heard anything about this? Because that technology...
You know, that technology you're talking about, we see how well it works with people unlocking their iPhones. Everybody's on back to a password. I'd hate for my gun not to fire when my life was in danger. I mean, it's a crazy proposal, but you know, the House of Representatives under Republican control certainly respects the Second Amendment more than the White House does. But I think this would just, you know, directly in contravention of the Constitution would really be a tough sell.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And you know, that smart gun technology has been talked about for years and years. And even if it were to work to perfection, which it doesn't, as you correctly pointed out, you know, if I have a gun in my home and, you know, my wife and I or my son and I, who when he comes of age, you know, we could all know how to use it. Why should only, you know, in an emergency situation, why should I only be the one, you know, who could use it? If I'm disabled and they know how to use it and they could lawfully use it, why shouldn't they have the opportunity? So there's so many flaws with it. Before I let you go, Congressman, I want to ask you about the revelations, the reports yesterday, the FOIA request that was through the FOIA request that Judicial Watch obtained emails or documents that showed that Lois Lerner was trying to sic, in their words, the Justice Department on some of the conservative groups that were under scrutiny, trying to do the same with her former place of employment at the FEC. And, of course, the emails that your committee talked about showed Elijah Cummings in contact with Lois Lerner. Just how deep do you believe that she is... Oh, I'm sorry, Congressman. I understand we lost you and got you back. Okay.
NSA, I guess. I don't know.
The emails that were obtained by the Judicial Watch through the FOIA Act that showed that Lois Lerner reportedly wanted to enlist the Justice Department to go after some of the conservative groups that were under scrutiny, and FEC as well, where she used to work, and of course the Elijah Cummings emails that your committee put forth and talked about already publicly that showed that he was in contact with Lois Lerner and looking for information over True the Vote. How deep does this go? How troubling is this, and will we ever get to the bottom of it?
No, it's certainly troubling. It sounds to me like a vast left-wing conspiracy. But this is the United States of America. We don't target people for their political views, for increased scrutiny for taxes, and certainly not for criminal activity. I mean, that's something that happens in some third-world dictatorship. And the American people just are not going to stand for that. And we're going to continue to investigate and fight to make sure every American is treated fairly.
All right, Congressman. Listen, thank you for taking the time, and good luck with the bill, and keep up the fight.
My pleasure, and I will.
Thank you very much. Congressman Blake Farenthold, Republican from Texas, member of the House Oversight Committee. And I didn't talk about it before we went on the air with the Congressman as to whether or not it was difficult, you know, sitting in front of the Attorney General and saying what he said. But I would just imagine it's difficult. It's not easy. And like when he said, when people say, why didn't you shout? Why weren't you angry? It's not about that. And plus, you know, you respect the office to a great extent. But when you have an Attorney General who has not been forthcoming to the point where he's held in contempt of Congress, that's huge. And he's right. The Congressman is right. Any one of us in that kind of situation, you know, in the public sector, in the non-political world, who had something of that nature on an equal par happen to us, we wouldn't be walking around, you know? We wouldn't be walking around and able to carry on our business and earn our living, and which also speaks to the reason that he has introduced that bill. Of course, it has no chance in the Senate, and the President...
Brought to you by the